Welcome back to MobShadic100, the deep dive series that awakens your psyche. Now today we're going to be talking about Sonic the Hedgehog combat, and more specifically, why Sonic Frontiers combat worries me. Based off of leaks from 4chan, etc. before the game was announced to be Sonic Frontiers or Sonic Rangers, but many of them basically being confirmed at this point, we know that Sonic Frontiers is going to be a more combat-focused Sonic game. The thing that has me worried is that Sonic combat hasn't been something that's really been tackled well by the developers, and again, nobody on YouTube has really talked about it, so I thought I might as well, address it here. But long story short, Sonic combat has either fallen into two realms. Simple, which there's nothing wrong with it being simple. I mean, that works it's a platformer. I don't need super extravagant combat. Or it's been just bad. What I mean by bad, I mean like monotonous, tedious, something that you just really don't want to do. And that's because you have to play a very tight balancing act between speed, flow, and in combat involvement. And that's typically why the more combat-focused games in the series get a bad rap, whether it is warranted or not. And it's because one of those things is essentially, or multiple of those things are taken away. The simple jump on enemies or homing attacks works so well because it doesn't break the pace of gameplay. More specifically, speed. Having more options in combat isn't bad, but the way it's been approached has been atrocious. Combat in Sonic games always requires the player to stop. And on top of that, the combat is always mashy. Think about Sonic Heroes. Even when you're not playing as the speed type character, you're always resulting to mashing, and it never feels like you're really involved in the gameplay because you have to stop to mash against an enemy. It's just almost never fun. And it requires you to switch characters merely because your character can't kill said character. You have to stop, you have to switch, and then you have to mash. And in a game that's essentially focused around speed, you don't want to do that. Shadow the Hedgehog has the same issue, maybe not as much to the same degree, mostly because of the involvement of guns and being able to essentially pass by enemies, but anytime you have a mission that's combat oriented, it's extremely tedious because they put you in a room or a little section filled with enemies that you have to mash against because everybody has a health bar. And you have to whittle these down, and this just becomes so boring the more you have to do it. I have to kill 20, 30, 40 enemies in this level, and you mean to tell me that it takes, 2 to 5 hits to kill all of them? That's ridiculous. And in Sonic 06, it exacerbates this issue because this is concurrent across all of the gameplay styles in the game, specifically the main three, Sonic, Shadow, and Silver. Silver's already slow enough and you have to stop to pick up enemies, weapons, crates, etc. to shoot them at other enemies. And while Shadow has this little air combo thing from Shadow the Hedgehog, it's almost never fun to use. And then Sonic falls into the realm of mashing or using the gems, which, at some level try to rectify this issue, but never really approach it properly. Because again, sometimes it just stops you. Maybe you have the wind one, it stops you in your place. There's just a myriad of issues with combat in this era of Sonic. And that still even continues later down the line, but we'll talk about that later. So, how do we fix the combat of previous entries? First of all, we need to get rid of all of the stopping. Sonic stopping completely breaks the flow of gameplay, and we just need to have him essentially have more movement-focused combat and give the player options that give them speed or help them maintain it. Kingdom Hearts 3 is actually a great example of this. Combos keep the player essentially moving forward, magic doesn't stop the player but keeps them moving, and air step allows the player to dash towards enemies. Your combat momentum never really essentially meddles with your momentum in your movement. So it's always quick and snap. Once you get done taking out a room of enemies, you just hold the direction you need to go and keep going forward. It's fast, it's quick, and it's fun. And then on top of that, we need to get rid of the mashing. Not specifically the mashing itself, but the feeling of mashing. I mean, even character action games can be mashy. There's nothing wrong with that inherently. But once you feel like you're just mashing the same button because there's very little variety in the gameplay or the combat, you done gooped. So we fix that by giving Sonic actual combos and giving him a multitude of combos and attacks that actually engage the player. At this point, I think I can speak for everyone in saying that spamming homing attack is just not fun. It's tedious, it's monotonous, and it's boring. Most of the length in games like Sonic Heroes or Shadow the Hedgehog or even Sonic 06 could be reduced by getting rid of the mashing, 3 to 5 times just to kill one enemy. Again, this isn't every enemy in the game. There are many enemies which you can kill with one hit. But once you're setting up rooms with, enemies that take, 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6, 7, 8 hits just to take out, you screwed up the pace of your gameplay, especially when you're making a fast momentum-based platformer. If the main option of defeating your enemies is that basic and you have a focus on combat, you're just asking for your game to be boring. That's all I have to say on that. The combat should just also reward the players with cool finishers to their combos and allow them to cancel and continue said combos. And the enemy design should also complement this style of combat. There should be a variety of enemies with a multitude of ways to defeat them. This isn't to say that, enemy variety in Sonic games is bad, but when you, essentially take combat and you increase its complexity, the enemies also need to follow that. The Sonic formula of flying enemy, regular enemy that shoots in big body would just get stale in this new style of combat should they approach it like this. Give us enemies with new attacks that we have to dodge or approach differently. A great example is one of the leaked attacks that we have for Sonic in the game, and that's the speed cycle. Maybe have that take out only ground enemies and have us have to combo up to the air to get an equivalent of that for the ground. I mean, again, these are very surface level ideas, but I think it would make for a really amazing combat experience in a Sonic game, of all things. Like, think about that. Sonic with amazing combat. But the next thing I have to say is, could we see this in a Sonic game? And I think we can. And I say that because games like Spark the Electric Jester exist. Now, Spark the Electric Jester in general just has this really great foundation, whether it be the first game, the second game, or even maybe the third upcoming game. Make sure you look out for that, because this is honestly an amazing series. It's a love letter to Sonic, Kirby, Mega Man, and just many platforms alike, but mainly those 3 series, whether it be in the way it approaches its story more like a Mega Man game, its level design and its platforming being more like a Sonic game, especially given the speed of the character, or its combat and power-up system being more reminiscent of a Kirby game. All around, it just makes for a really fun experience, especially in the first game. It just all clicks so well together. And then in the second game, you have a really, really solid foundation for even just a character action game outside of it being a platformer. Though I will say the second game has quite a few more issues. When you make that transition into 3D, there's some things that you have to change. More specifically, enemies in the second game don't really, stagger, nor is there a really proper knockback system, so many of those enemies just stand there and they will attack, but they'll just stay in the same spot despite you hitting them. This isn't all the time, but this is much of the time. And I think that's something that I hope to see fixed in Spark the Electric Jester 3. While the Spark the Electric Jester series is a love letter to many series, the second game feels really like a love letter to both the boost and adventure styles of gameplay, especially the adventure style, while adding some unique combo-based combat that is very much in the vein of a character action game like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, especially with the power-up system and how you're able to essentially switch your attack types mid-combat, much like, again, a Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, switching weapons mid-combo. It's just really fun, especially against many of the bosses later game. And don't get me wrong, while I have my issues with, Spark 2 have in its staggering / knockback system, I will say that it gets the basics correct for combat for what I believe a very combat-oriented Sonic game would or should be. And while I bring this game up, many are asking, what about the other styles of combat in Sonic games? I've already brought up things like the flying and the power types in Sonic Heroes. What about things like the Hedgehog or, Knuckles, or even the creative character in Sonic Forces? And the things I have to say is, in Sonic Forces, you usually maintain your speed with, say for instance, the Avatar. But the issue is enemy design and really none of the different items really serving the function of combat, and more so the function of acting as a power-up for levels to get through the level faster. You're getting drilled to boost over things, not really to take out enemies. Because taking out enemies isn't the issue, it's really just blitzing through the stage and going forward. The issue the Hedgehog has is just an overall lack of speed. It doesn't feel fast, it doesn't feel quick, and his overall movement just feels really stiff, at least in comparison to, say for instance, an adventure style Sonic. And while I do think Knuckles' combat is really cool and it's actually faster than both the Werehog really, and maybe even the Force's Avatar character, depending on how you look at it, because he can do punch combos while running at full speed, it's really simple. And that's why he's able to maintain speed and things while he's, you're playing as him. Yes, there are things you can do with inputs like spinning to essentially get a Shoryuken, but that requires you to stop. And again, we're trying to avoid that altogether. So again, the, Werehog is stop and go with clunky movement, and Knuckles in the, created character in Sonic Forces are just really basic. And I get it, I'm not talking about things like the mech, but I'm talking about things that are feasible, like these gameplay styles, not something like the mech from Sonic Adventure 2 or Gamma, because I don't think Sonic's gonna run around with a Glock again. Or, that was Shadow, but you know what I mean. I just like to see something like Spark 2 mixed in with a little bit of Kingdom Hearts, so everything has that really nice flow. I think Sonic is a series that is full of potential, but it never executes it right. And I think this is the game where we have to have the proper execution. And you may disagree with me, that's fine. Let me know in that comment section down below. But I really just want to hammer it in that we need something new for Sonic's combat. I'm getting tired of seeing the mashing combat in Sonic games. I just want something that's fun, and that takes a little bit more thought than me just hitting A and hoping that homing attack hits them. Make sure you check out my Demon Slayer video. That's actually the first video I consider as episode 1 of the MobShadic100 video series. I'm gonna stick to keeping this as the deep dive series and having, a lot more general discussion videos and news videos come out, when it warrants it. But this is the stuff that I actually really want to deep dive into. And I think you guys should, hit that subscribe button and really help a brother out. Hopefully you like more videos like this. I'm going to make more videos like this about other series, not just Sonic the Hedgehog. So don't worry. Again, the first one was for Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles. Again, check that out. It'd be highly appreciated if you did, because it underperformed a lot worse than I thought it would. But that's mostly because, I wasn't uploading. But again, please check it out. And then check out my multiple characters video. It was a video that I just did off the top of my head. I wrote down my notes and I really just wanted to talk about it because I really want to see multiple characters be really important in the story in Sonic games again. Some people are even having some other discussions in the comment section, which actually have given me video ideas for more videos. So again, leave your thoughts down below and you'll see some interesting videos come out of it. But this has been your man Shadicstick. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Remember, Hot Faraga turns to Cold Blizzaga. Chill out with some of my other videos. Hit that notification bell. We're out of here. Peace. Have a good one.
See ya, space viewer.